After looking at it from a high level, this is what I call it, relationship real estate. Many people have never actually consciously been brought up to understand that most people do not own their relationship real estate. That's a real thing. They're not the landlord. They're acting like a tenant on their own relationship real estate. They don't even know it with some of the things that you're doing. You just think it's normal. And so it shows up in ways that you don't even know. And so you sell yourself short like Judas Iscariot because you simply don't know where the line starts with you and ends with another person.
I knew from day that I could never be a wife. I can't do it because one thing about me is I'm not senile. And I'm not silly, I'm not stupid. If I clearly see that something is a wrong move and it's going to impact me, I'm not going down that road.
But it's only reality according to you, based on the subconscious things that are inside you. We don't all experience the same reality. And so what you are experiencing, people will give reports on their relationship experiences all based on their belief system.
You see, I'm too adult for that.
It's time that we started waking these people up from the fact that they were deceived into thinking that that's the only reality possible. And I know that they don't know because they believe this with all their heart and soul. And that's why they speak the way they do. This is what sits in their subconscious. And they believe it with all their heart and soul. I want to talk to you more seriously today about why many good people have bad relationships and then get angry. Understandably, it seems so unfair. You show up decent, you aren't looking for trouble, you are trying to do the right thing, you are doing your best. You preempt things, you go out of your way to see that things work, and yet you keep finding yourself dealing with people who don't reciprocate that decency. And eventually you start thinking, what is wrong with people? But let me give you something that may completely change the way you understand your relationship problems. What you believe you're experiencing and what is actually happening are usually not the same thing. And if you don't see the difference, you can spend years becoming more angry, more distrustful. I think I'm going to have to hold this. And so you become more convinced that relationships are the problem, as many people are convinced. People will hold on to what they're convinced about because it's what they've experienced. How can anyone tell you different? But I want you to listen. You see, what I'm trying to point you to today now is the thing that you're convinced about, that relationships are the problem, is what you will continue to experience. And it is not by you declaring that relationships are not a problem that you will not experience that they're not a problem. It is whether or not you believe that. And because you believe it, I'm telling you, that is why you have the problem that you have. And then you're going to go to yourself, but I didn't believe it in the first place. It was my experiences that taught me to begin to believe it. The point is this: what we carry inside of us affects how we see ourselves, how we interpret the world around us, how we then behave, therefore, and eventually what the people that we're interacting with will see from us and what kind of experiences we create with these people, because people cannot help but address us according to the identity that we show to them. And so that's why at the end of the day, it is what we are carrying inside, it is what we are convinced about that we give to people, and that is what they're going to act off of. My name is Uzo. Nobody is going to be calling me Angela or Kennedy. Do you understand? We are going to have to go by the identity that we have given to them, and that is how they are going to address us. So I want you to watch this, because I'm not here just to calm you down. I want to give you insight. I want to give you the truth. Most advice out there is focused on telling you how that other person is doing wrong to you. What I prefer to do is to tell you how to take the driver's seat in creating only the best relationships without having to depend on what another person chooses to. And I have to do this because if I am matchmaking people, this is how I strengthen you and I empower you to get into relationships. Because I don't want people to get into relationships and be doing relationship labor. Because I know that that is not how life works. But people are going to believe it because it is what they have been taught. See, if you're already in a relationship, the facts still remain the same. You need to pay attention to this. Okay, this is how you change your relationship dynamics. Now, I want to tell you something. I'm experiencing my reality. So we experience life through the filters that our past and our exposure provide us. Now, change your relationship dynamics. Now, I want to tell you something. I'm experiencing my reality. So we experience life through the filters that our past and our exposure provide us. Now, if things have entered and programmed your subconscious, you will deal with life through that subconscious mind. It's not even your fault. It's not our fault. So let's start there. Because you didn't choose what was put there. We didn't choose the culture that you grew up in. You didn't choose your religion. You didn't necessarily choose your family environment. You didn't even choose your family. So you were born and thrust into all these things. And therefore, you didn't choose the messages that you repeatedly heard about men, about women, about relationships, about marriage, about love, about trust, or about what you should expect from another person. When I started a friendship with someone, I noticed that they were always making comments about how you can't trust people, how you can't trust people, how you can't trust people. And I noted that because I'm not a person who goes into relationships not trusting people. So I knew that this was going to be the foundation of everything that would happen in this relationship. I mean, when you start a friendship with someone, just note the things that they believe. You will see that those things that they believe will constantly feature in your relationship. Even if you're doing something that's the opposite, they're going to interpret everything you do through what they believe already before they ever met you. And so your relationships have already got their future. Your relationships are already written before you even start the relationship. So that's why I say that it's not about what the person is doing. It's never about what that person is doing, even though the person is doing what they're doing. It's about you and the subconscious that you carried with you before you met that person. And so that's why you can continuously experience the same repeated disappointments. Because wherever you go, there you are. You are carrying yourself. And so here is where the responsibility changes. When you hear what I am saying now, that changing what is operating inside your subconscious can change the physical experiences that you're having. If you still don't take the step to do so, then you become the cause of your own continued frustration. But that's the part that people don't want to hear, and I understand why. Because it's so much easier to say men are terrible, women are terrible, men are cheats, men are nasty, men are looking for a maid, men are, women are gold diggers, women, there's no conditional love with women, women are this, women are, relationships are terrible, nobody can be trusted. We will always find it easier to blame something on the outside, to blame what that person is doing. But I'm going to tell you that we are helping to create what that person is doing. So I want you to stop and ask, what if there is something about the way that I have been programmed that is influencing what I keep experiencing? I'm telling you this. I had this experience myself. My mom actually had to say to me, you're going to continue having this. And I was angry. I was like, Mom, that's not a fair statement to make. But she was right. And so this is where the explanation can become difficult to grasp. So let me try and make it extremely simple. Let's do the silver spoon test. Think about wealth. Because when we're talking about relationships, it seems like something so intangible. It's like we're just talking about experiences. So let me talk about something that you might find more tangible. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about wealth. Imagine someone who was born with a silver spoon and grew up completely accustomed to affluence. Compare that person with someone who grew up not knowing where their next meal will be coming from. Do you seriously think these two people, when they see opportunities, when they see money, when they see security, possibilities, risk, do you think they're going to see these things exactly the same way? Absolutely not. They won't. And that's why I tell you that we all have completely different internal realities, which then affect our interpretation of situations, of circumstances, of people, and therefore our responses, our reactions, our beliefs. We are not all living in the same universe. We are living here. We can actually be sitting face to face. Somebody else can be sitting on this bench with me, and we are watching something play out in front of us, but we are going to take away two different things from the experience. That's why somebody will see a glass half full and the other person sees the glass half empty. I am sitting right here. Somebody else is looking at me. Cars are driving by. People are looking at me, and somebody thinks, what is silly woman? She's making a spectacle of herself. And some other person is moving around and they're thinking, oh wow, how bold. She's sitting right here in public in front of everybody and she's making a video. Do you understand? So everything depends on your perception. So what we need to do is focus on what part of your perception is causing you to experience life, respond to, react to things in the way that you do, that create the relationship dynamics that you have. This is a real thing, because I can tell you now, I don't, and the people that have learned from me do not experience the relationship dynamics that they don't want to experience, because we have figured out how to expunge those things in the subconscious that cause people to see and experience relationship dynamics that they don't want to experience. So it's the same thing for everyone. So some people have had certain ideas about relationships programmed into them from infancy. And when you look at their background, you may find that it came from a culture, a religion, or family, or environment where some very unhealthy things were treated as normal. They were actually told that this is how it is, this is how life is, this is how men and women behave, this is how marriages are. That's why you can hear someone saying that this is what it is to be a wife. I will never be a wife. Because when I heard those things, I was astounded myself. I was like, what are they talking about? That doesn't even come into my reality. That's not even part of my reality. I have never had the idea that this is what happens to wives. You know? But when I go somewhere where the people who think like that abound, and I say, what you're saying is not true, that is not how the life of a wife is, they will say, you don't even know what you're talking about. That's what they're going to say to me. So the world that you're interpreting is limited to what sits in your subconscious. The subconscious programming that you don't even know that you're carrying. And here is the problem. A person who grows up seeing things that way believes that the way that they see relationships is simply the way that relationships are. They don't know that they're operating from a completely separate reality. And so that's why that person, even when they think that they're doing their best in a relationship, they don't know they're doing their best within what they understand is the way to be in a relationship. So they can meet a good person and they mess up that relationship. And so because it continues to happen and happen, they either meet people who are not like them and they mess up the relationship, or they meet people who are like them and both of them mess up the relationship. And because it continues to happen over and over and over, they are convinced that relationships are difficult, relationships are complicated, relationships require so much hard work, so much labor. But I'm here telling you that that is not what the reality is. And if you want to change your reality, you need to understand what it is that needs to be plugged into your subconscious. You have to take what is plugged into the subconscious of those who are experiencing relationships the way that you want to experience relationships. You need to borrow from them and plug that, expunge what is in your subconscious and replace it with theirs. And I know how to do that for you. I know how to do that for people. But you first got to believe that it can be done. What I've shared with you so far will tell you, if you're being objective, now you can see it, that your experiences and your reality that you believe are not necessarily reality. And you will continue to experience that reality up until the time that you remove those things from your subconscious. and replace them with a completely new data set. That is what neuroscience is all about. That is what our neural pathways do. We are stuck living a life because of the data that is sticking in our neural pathways. We are stuck living a life because of all the things and all the patterns and all the ideas and all the subconscious programming sitting in our neural pathways. And you don't even know that that is what you're living. And so when you say that relationships are terrible, oh, men are nasty, oh, men are difficult, oh, women are, people are, marriages, you are only speaking from your understanding of relationships. And this is what it means when we say that people perish for lack of knowledge. This is what it means when you hear that our relationships always mirror us. You will always speak from the worldview that you were taught, through what you were exposed to. Some of us have been privileged to understand that relationships are something that can be joyful, not something defined by suffering. So when I got close to someone who didn't see life like this, I was always laughing at the way that he was treating the relationship. What the heck is going on here? And so while he would be frowning and complaining, I'm laughing and smiling. And I just sat and I was watching it play out. I was like, oh my gosh, this person is just in a life of suffering. So when we encounter someone speaking about relationships as though suffering is inevitable, they say things like relationships require effort. They say things like relationships are hard work. You have to work hard. You have to think about compromise. You have to think. It simply isn't true. People like me who know different, we say it simply isn't true because that is not our reality. But it is true for them because that is what they know. That is the way that they live life. It's difficult to understand until you hear an explanation like this. And so they will say back to us, oh, but that is not reality. But here is the interesting part. We know that what they're saying feels completely alien to us. Both sides. Why? Because we simply haven't experienced relationships the way that they have. And that's the point. And we can't. Because I'm always going to identify with what is in my subconscious. And so are my friends who have learned this. So is everyone who has learned this. Everyone who has expunged the nonsense that was creating the catharsis, the catastrophe. That is the point. So people who are angry, that anger is telling you something. People who are angry with men or with women or with marriage or with relationships, so people who say it's impossible, it doesn't work, yeah, it's a scam, those people are frustrated because they haven't understood how to regulate their own relationship with themselves because of what is operating in their subconscious. I've already told you all that. And all of this is unbeknownst to them. So they feel completely justified with their complaints and their screaming and their tantrums. Because naturally, if you can't regulate your own relationship with yourself, you're not going to be able to regulate your relationship with another person. You're not going to be able to regulate your relationship with other people. And when you can't regulate your relationship with other people, that's when they can then treat you how they perceive and how they choose. And that is where the gap is. And I'm not saying that people who mistreat you are innocent. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that there is another part, there's a whole other part of the equation that you haven't been taught to look at. And if you don't understand that part, you will remain angry at the external world. You will remain angry at relationships, at marriages, at men, at women, while you will never address what is actually happening internally. And there is an even deeper reason this happens. You don't own your relationship real estate. Let me explain what I mean, because I coined this phrase because after looking at it, after taking I gave it an overview. After looking at it from a high level, this is what I call it: relationship real estate. Many people have never actually consciously been brought up to understand that they don't need to be accepted. That's a real thing. Most people do not own their relationship real estate. They're not the landlord. They're acting like a tenant on their own relationship real estate. And so people come and they are people pleasers. And they don't even know it. You don't even know that you're being a people pleaser with certain things that you're doing. You just think it's normal. And so it shows up in ways that you don't even know. And so you sell yourself short like Judas Iscariot because you simply don't know where the line starts with you and ends with another person. And until we can tell where our territory begins and another person's territory ends, we will keep fumbling ourselves. We will allow people to trespass on our estate. We will allow people to disrespect us. And then we will turn around and blame them. Blame men, blame women, blame relationships, blame marriages. And yet, all the time, the problem has been that you didn't learn how to own your own relationship real estate. And I know it's not your fault. It's just that you were never told. You never knew. Because once you own it, something very interesting happens with your relationship dynamics. I can't imagine anyone who genuinely has their self-respect intact being constantly worried about relationships. I can't imagine anyone who genuinely has their self-respect intact getting angry about relationships or being angry or worried that somebody's going to do something to them. No. They're going to come back and argue again. No, I have my self-respect, but people do this, that. You can't control what other people do. Oh, well, you can't control what other people do, but you certainly can control what they do to you. I'm telling you this because I'm living in the same world as you. People who have learned this are living in the same world as you, and they're not having these complaints. The moment that you see someone getting angry or complaining that people do this, you just need to understand that they haven't just understood. It's that little thing. We can be so exposed, we can be so intelligent, but that little thing, intelligence and exposure does not overcome what is sitting in the subconscious unless you allow it. This video is long. I think I'm going to have to split it into two. Yeah? So there's going to be a part 2. I'm going to split it. Look how beautiful it is. You see the ocean behind me? That's the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, let's go to part 2.